Many of us are enthusiastic about Bobby Kennedy's stance on pardoning Julian Assange on his first day in office, and his position against the war in Ukraine, and his anti-establishment views of the government. But there's a big brouhaha about his support for Israel, seeming to not understand it. And I'm just wondering if Norman has any connections with Dennis Kucinich that he might be able to help educate Bobby Kennedy. Thank you.
Um, I don't have connections with Dennis Kucinich, who is Robert Kennedy's campaign manager. And I don't believe that Robert Kennedy can be educated on the subject because his opinions are so stupendously ignorant that they have to be the product of calculation. You can't be a grown person involved in politics and sincerely believe the things he's saying. The broad public consensus on Israel now has significantly shifted such that the things that he's saying now fall into just a tiny group of what you might call Jewish and Christian fundamentalist crazies. It's a pretty marginal group now that subscribes to the sorts of things he says. And since he is reasonably well educated, you have to assume that this is political calculation, and probably at the end of the day, it's about money, donors, and so forth. And therefore, I don't see any point in trying to educate him. I thought I disconnected the phone. Excuse me. Give me 1/2 moment. Okay, it's disconnected. So I don't think it's worth even the effort to try to educate him, because his opinions are, as I said, they fall now at the bizarre end of the spectrum. Since he's an intelligent person and he seems to be a reader, one has to assume that this is political calculation, and therefore it's not amenable to persuasion. Anyhow, yes, Robert Kennedy has said some good things about some things, some good things about some things, but he's not part of a political tradition that has anything in common with my own political beliefs, and I'd much rather choose a candidate who, broadly speaking, falls into the political tradition with which I identify. So as of now, I can't say with any certainty, but as of now, I will support Cornel West. I think Dr. West has fulfilled or completed the first stage of a campaign, which is to make it known. And so he has done the podcast tour, and he's gotten on some major networks. He's become an item of conversation and concern, and among certain people, panic. And now it's time to move on to stage 2. And stage 2 is to see whether Dr. West is capable of building what's called a ground operation, which is to say, creating a network of supporters who are going to go out and work for him. A grassroots network, not a Twitter network. It's got to be large numbers of people who are willing to put in the time at no pay to push his candidacy. So now I want to see whether he can produce the ground operation. And then the third step is obviously a platform to see concretely what are you standing for, not broad generalizations, but concretely what is your platform. And then step 4, to see how his platform resonates, whether it's creating a grassroots enthusiasm and movement. As all of you know, Bernie Sanders was extremely effective at that. He came up with maybe 4 planks: the Medicare for all, abolish student debt, abolish college tuition, Green New Deal, jobs, infrastructure. Everybody knew his platform, and he just kept repeating it over and over again, which is what you have to do. And it worked. It worked. So now we have to wait and see whether Dr. West, as I said, he has to move on now to step 2, the ground operation, step 3, the platform, and then see how it resonates. That's how I see it.
It's up to you. It's up to you. There's one more question, or we can begin on.
All right, let's hear the question, whether
Okay.
I can be brief.
Craig's iPhone, Stephen.
Okay, this is Craig. So that was a great segue into my question, which was, when do you think Cornel West is going to get the attention that the brief attention that Robert Kennedy received in some of the mainstream platforms, and being that Jill Stein is his campaign manager, do you see that continuing?
I hope not. I hope not.
Yeah.
Look, he's been on Anderson Cooper. He was on Sean Hannity. He was on Laura Ingraham. He was on, I think, one MSNBC program. One, my memory is, I could be mistaken about that. I'm just trying to remember. I don't own a television or cable or any of that. But I watch it on YouTube, and I have been following it. I do not want Jill Stein as his campaign manager. I don't believe she's a fundamentally political animal, and you need somebody who knows the lay of the land. I'm not saying I would want David Axelrod or David Plouffe, Barack Obama's campaign manager and campaign strategist. I wouldn't want them, but you need somebody who knows what needs to get done. And I don't believe she's the right person for that. I think there are people out there who have very rich life experience in organizing. That's a very, very specific talent that needs to be honed by a large amount of experience. And Dennis Kucinich is absolutely excellent. I'm sorry he ended up in the Robert Kennedy candidacy, but that was before Cornel came along. Dr. West came along. So
yeah, I know you mentioned too that perhaps he would be a good ticket to run with Kennedy. Do you still feel that way?
No.
Okay, that's fair.
At the beginning, I thought maybe yes, but after I started here, look, I'm not going to give a litmus test on Israel-Palestine. I'm not going to make it a litmus test. But the things he says are so bizarre. His main confidant is Rabbi, I call him Schmucky Botax. I don't know, I got something like Shmuley, whatever, but he's just complete. I can't even find it. No, I'm not going there. I hope Cornel doesn't go there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think you should be the campaign manager, Norm.
No, I know what it means to know that. You have to have a good, solid, several decade experience as a grassroots organizer. That's not an easy resume to fill. It's not. I wouldn't mind being a policy writer. I feel like I'm confident I can do that. But I think Cornel will regard me as, Dr. West will regard me as too much of a loose cannon. Like my views in the Ukraine will just, they lose in the court of public opinion. And so I don't think I could get that position. Frankly, I'm willing to modify my opinion as long as you recognize that the war was provoked by the West. I'm willing to go along with working with you for sure, even though my position is Russia had the right to attack. But I can understand difference of opinion. I can understand difference of opinion. But I think I would be considered too much of a loose cannon. And I get that. I get that. Okay.